and I told a joke that got, almost nothing. And I just go, well, you have been a crowd. And then I took the microphone and I dropped the mic and I walked off stage and I got booed off stage.
The show must go on. Even if the show goes wrong, the show must go wrong.
Well, so to start, the way I like to start is if you could just quickly introduce yourself to the camera.
Sure. Man. My name is Sid Singh, and I'm a visiting comic from the world, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. You're on the road. You're around. You're
Yeah.
in London. You're in Barcelona. You're touring. You're doing all this stuff. So I'm excited to have you here. It'll be interesting because you are the second person I've had on the podcast who I had on my previously failed podcast. So that feels special to me.
Of course.
You know, the way I like to start the show is it's a show about a podcast about bad shows, and so I'm wondering, when was the last time you had a bad show?
Well, that's interesting. How would you define bad show?
One where you were, I guess the lowest level of definition would be like you left feeling like, I wish I hadn't done that.
Like, I'll give you
The highest level being, should I stop doing this altogether?
let me give you a spectrum.
Okay,
Right?
okay.
A couple of years ago, I did a show that was so bad because we had this horrible heckler, and it's funny. He actually liked my first 3 minutes, but I got so annoyed at him.
For your first 3 minutes is very funny.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, he was like, "Oh, this guy might not heckle."
Yeah.
And I was like, "No, fuck you." You know? And I did something you're not supposed to do in comedy, which is I created a problem that I had already solved.
Yeah.
And I picked on him so much he stormed the stage and tried to fight me and tried to take the microphone. And
Oh wow. Where did
this was in Rotterdam, in a venue that no longer exists.
Okay.
I tried at one point to pull 20 euros out of my pocket and stuff it into his mouth. So what I'm trying to say is that's one end of the spectrum,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
And then on Saturday, I tried to get up at an open mic. I've been doing this for 17 years, man. I've had some television experience. I tried to get up at this open mic, and there were only 15 spots. So you have to get there early to sign up. So I got there early to make sure I could sign up for one of those spots. But then I think 18 people signed up, something like that. And so they were like, oh, no, we have to do a lottery now to determine the 15 spots. And then they rigged it to make sure that some of their so that not too many new comics would get on. And I did not get on. You know what I mean? So that was interesting after 17 years. So I would say that that's the two ends of the spectrum of how bad a show can go. Because technically on a second, I didn't do the show.
Yeah, that is what is so awful about comedy is it's like until people know you, they don't know you, and and you're like, and I just want to try some jokes, and I promise it's not going to be that bad. Like,
Yeah.
So all right. Well, where should we? Let's start with Saturday. So Saturday, you're like, all right, I'm gonna go to this mic. Now, as you said, you've been doing it 17 years. You've done writing for TV. You've done stuff. You've opened for famous comedians. You've toured a lot. Is there any part of you when you're going to like a sign up open mic that's like, fuck, what am I doing?
No, see, I came up in New York City. So to me, you're never supposed to get too big for those mics. Those people are the ones who aren't interested in growing as comedians, right? And you see that even in young scenes, you see people being like, I'm now above it. And you're like, oh, you're never going to get better.
Yeah.
If you're not taking every opportunity to work out new jokes, how are your new jokes going to get better? And yes, there's a certain level where you can start to do it, within your hour show or within other people's shows, but those comics aren't there yet. So for me, I'm like, hey, this is, I got, on this Saturday, for example, I was like, okay, I'm doing my own show later tonight, but I want to make sure that they get their money's worth. So I will do the new stuff at the open mic beforehand. That way,
Yeah.
you know, I feel better about myself. And I'm excited about this new joke. Like I was telling you, I'm in town to run the hour, and there's 2 moments I've already decided I want to get rid of. And so I just have to write a new section for each of those 2 parts. And it's probably like 7 minutes in total, maybe less. But still, like that's so I'm like, oh, I want to do every mic.
Yeah. And is there any part of you that wants to like be a little bit of a diva when they do the lottery and then that you don't get one of the spots and you're like, really? I'm doing an hour after this. Like I would just, you don't have 5 minutes for me to try this?
Absolutely, I want to be a diva. Oh my gosh! But you know what I mean? Like you just want to like forget like even getting on the mic. I know sometimes there are mics that are like, okay, well if you're so good, do you want to go up first? No, I do not. I am a good comedian. I do not want to spend my 5 minutes cleaning up your mess. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are so many open mics I do in Europe as opposed to America, where the comics are just new. But although they are new to comedy, they are relatively old for their scene, right? So they have a level of confidence their comedy has not potentially earned them.
Yes.
And so you often are like, and I mean, I remember there was, I don't want to name names, but in London, I would get booked to feature for this showrunner, right? And it was brutal because they really wanted to learn how to host, and they wanted to book famous people so that those people could see them.
Okay.
Right? But then this showrunner would tank the show so hard as a host that as a feature, I would spend the first 15 of my 20 minutes just trying to get the crowd back to be like, this is a good choice. I'm funny. The headliner's funny. You hang out with us after the show. Like anything to just get you guys to like.
Guys, it's still going to be fun.
I promise. And I finally just had to be like, listen, man, I really cannot say yes to these shows, even though I need the money, because it's just so disheartening to do all that work, get the crowd back, and then have to leave and let someone else have a great time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Well, that's something a trap that I feel like I'm falling into a lot, which is, I'm higher energy. I'm not like dark. I'm essentially like sweet and light, and I host a lot because that's how you make money in Berlin, and so then now always they're like, well, Pat can go first.
And you know what? I think to really hopefully support you and not twist the knife.
Yeah.
I think it is one of these really weird situations where in Europe, because the scene is so new, and because people are so willing to pick and choose what lessons they're taking from America, this is an example of the wrong lesson being picked from America. I do not think you have to start strong in Europe. I think you have to start competent.
Yeah.
But often, I think what's probably happening on a lot of your shows, if you don't mind me conjecturing a little bit, but
Please,
I bet you show up, you add the energy, you get them going, and then the next 3 comics bring it right back down, so that by the time the headliner's on, he has to now fix whatever the lack of energy that 3 less energied comics brought. And so if I'm running shows, I would never have you open, especially if it's an all stand-up show, right? I don't run as many all stand-up shows, but when I do now, I think it is a complete waste in Europe to have the high energy guy go up first. I think that you want to use the high energy guy to wake him up. Also, the host should have high energy. So I don't understand why you would follow high energy with more high energy.
Yeah, well, I think what's missing sometimes, you can find a host with high energy, but do they have some jokes as well?
Absolutely.
So you said a lot of things that I wanted to, touch on or unpack there. First of all, yes, you're right. It's interesting. That is a good point. That for some reason in Europe we do feel like we need to start strong, and
it's a thing in America too. It's just that generally speaking, in America, those shows are better balanced throughout.
Yeah. Well, to me, because I was just in the States, I was doing a few shows. It's like the host typically is the newest, most unfinished comic. And it was very interesting. I'm like, and they're just going up and just doing jokes. There's no like, these are the rules, blah, 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 which is so ubiquitous, it feels like, in Europe. Now, counterpoint, I got back all inspired with that, and I was like, I'm switching things up. We're going to do things differently now. Like, I'm no more of this shit. I'm just getting right to the shit, man.
Right, yeah.
And then I did that twice, and I was like, all right. I think we're going to do a few rules. We're going to do a little, like, practice clapping.
we really are just in this world where the audiences in Europe are so new. And it's not just that they're new, it's that even though many of them are coming back to other shows, the expat communities in all of these European cities are so transient that I would say over 60 to 70% of your audience is brand new every single time. And so it's like, you're like, I'm just going to get right to it. And they're like, right to what? I don't know what this is. And you're like, oh, man. And what bothers me is like, you can't even be like, and you couldn't figure it out from context? Like, that you bought a ticket to a show that said comedy show, and you're like, but this could be anything. Like,
It's so back to the point is you weren't a diva in that moment. You just took your lumps of like, I guess I'm not getting up to work these new jokes.
No, so much sadder. I just had to get up, immediately just walk home, and I almost cried. So that's a real life. I'm trying to be more open about when things devastate me. Because I find, because I have a lot of experience and I have an American way of talking, people assume a level of confidence and self-esteem that I don't internally actually have. I have fake bravado.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, I truly almost cried. And then I got home and my roommate made fun of me for almost crying. He's like, it's an open mic. Why do you care? I'm like, it's my life.
Now, I don't want to snipe your material here, but you're referring to your magician roommate?
Yes, my magician roommate who was like, I don't understand. It's an open mic. Why do you care so much?
Yeah. So, and now let's talk about the Heckler.
Oh yeah. So this was a couple years ago, to be fair.
Yeah.
And I've had all sorts of hecklers. I mean, 17 years in, you really do get the chance to see. And it's interesting too, of like, you know, when someone storms the stage. I think that was the first time that has ever happened to me. But it wasn't the first time I had seen that.
Yeah.
So you're like trying to figure out what to do based on what you've seen before. First thing is, don't let them get the mic.
Yeah.
You're holding the mic. As a result,
Like a kind of a.
yeah. You're like, man, get the hell out. You're like, you know, get out of here, right? But
So it's still talking. Like,
oh yeah,
you're not getting this.
Man,
Shut up.
Man, sit your ass down. Yeah. But as a result, he took the beer that was on the stool or whatever, and then he downed it, which was easy to do because I'd finished the vast majority of it.
That's also a funny, you know, like when you say storm the stage, it's like you're thinking Will Smith moment, you know, and it's funny to be like, I can't get the mic. Well, fuck it, I'm having your back wash.
Yes, yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, it's such a reminder that he didn't know what he was doing either. You know what I mean? He had no.
That is a panic move.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Well, because you could tell he was just like, okay, I gotta do something. I must stand up for myself. You know, stand up for myself, despite he's been heckling the entire show. And he drank it, and then he tried to walk off, and he just left his girlfriend behind on her seat. And then, like 30 seconds later, she just started crying, and then she stormed off. And then the audience gave this loud cheer for me. You know, to be like, yeah, man,
you got him.
You got this going forward, you know? Oh. And then I had to like do 12 more minutes of stand up to like just a crowd that like was so charged. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's no way. And the thing is, they didn't want me to talk about it.
Oh, yeah. So that would have been my question is like, what? Because it feels like a very hard turn to be like, So like dishwashers, you know.
Dating stuff.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, it should be. You almost fought that guy.
Yeah. But I mean, all I would want to talk about would be like, I feel like my gut reaction would be like, let me see how long I can riff on this. But they basically were like, we don't. That was dramatic, and we'd like you to turn this around.
And in a very it was very interesting because they wanted to be so supportive.
Mm-hmm.
But they were like, yeah, don't worry about it. You know, do your normal set. You know what I mean? Don't let him change what you wanted to do. But then if I would do regular jokes, it'd be like, yeah, I'm not in a position to like I couldn't do this at all. And I was like, great, cool.
You're like, dating's weird, and they're like, you know what else is weird? Is when a man storms a stage.
No, but you know what was so crazy is I could get away with one or two of those.
Yeah.
Of like still bringing the joke back to what had just happened. But over 12 minutes, you could see them just being like, I am not in a position. I should have just been like, listen, guys, that I I'm gonna cut it short. But I hope you guys come back some other day and we get to do this again. And therefore, everyone just hates that guy more. And they never realized that they had no patience to listen to anything else. You know what I mean?
Yes. So, and how did you leave the show feeling that night? I mean, was that a better or worse feeling than walking home getting denied from the open mic?
It was a lot weirder of a feeling, right? Because as sad as the open mic feeling was, the reality is you are never too old to have moments like that in comedy, right? The Burr story you were telling me about him getting denied at that open mic, very similar moment of just like, wait, but come on, man. Like, you learn in comedy is like...
I've dedicated my whole life to this.
Well, but you know what I mean? And you learn in comedy, you're like, at a certain point, I'm not going to get every high I'm chasing. But I would like to get the respect of my peers on a very basic level. And then when you don't even get that, you're like, damn, all right, well, time to find some music to put into my headphones to slowly get home. Especially because it's such an unrelatable, like, if you're Bill Burr, who do you tell that story to if not a podcast? You know what I mean? Like, you can't go to Madison Square Garden and be like, man, y'all will not believe what happened to me last night. They're like, man, we paid $50 for this. We also don't care. Like, get to it. Whereas that night, I feel like it was so charged and so crazy. I was mostly angry at the venue for putting me in that position. That no one one came to try to step in. That he should have been. That the fact that he was in the audience when I told him to kick him out at the break, and he was allowed to stay in, meant that they were like, no, but you handled it fine. I'm like, I don't care that I handled it fine. I came here to tell jokes. Y'all didn't let me do that. I blame you as much as I blame him. Yeah. Because he was very clearly awful from the start. You know, after the first comic, he should have been like, Doc, you got to go. I'm sorry. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's another thing. That's another, I would say, my perception is like, that's another difference between Europe and the US. I would be interested to hear your perception on this. But like, in the U.S., there is, maybe because there is so much more culture and like comedy culture, not just culture.
Sure.
But there's so much more comedy culture. It's like when there are people that are problems at a show, it's like there's a protocol. They get thrown out. Yeah. They're like there's even there. I think for a lot of audience members, they are entering knowing if I'm being an asshole, I might get thrown out. Like and here. I've almost never seen somebody I've had to throw people out while I was hosting because it was my own show. Right. But like you almost never see people thrown out.
I mean, it's somewhere in the middle, I would say, because I would say even in America, yes, some shows have the staff that know it is their responsibility to support the comedians and kick people out, but some of them don't. You know what I mean? Yeah. Especially if you're in New York and LA and it's like even if it's like a really cool bar show. Unless the private bartender who has nothing to do with the show steps in, you're probably not going to get some hipster comic helping you in that situation. Yeah. London is the same, or the UK is the same way, where their bigger clubs absolutely have staff who are trained to kick people out. But the smaller ones don't, you know what I mean? And even the bigger ones, although they will kick people out, they're very open to a comedian being like, no, give him a chance. Give him a
Yeah.
chance. You know what I mean? Because there's nothing worse than, especially when you're in a country you're not from, and the comic before he's like, no, let him stay, and then he wins them back.
Yeah.
You know? So now they're in a good mood, and then now you're on stage and they're right back to normal. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But now the crowd knows that it is technically possible
Yeah.
for them to be dealt with. Whew, you cannot win that situation.
No.
that is a fall. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know you were like doing it in New York and then moved to London. Now you're kind of based between London and Barcelona. Yeah. I'm wondering, is there, I was going to ask, like, where have you had the most worst shows? But I guess the answer is probably New York, or...
Yeah, but it also sort of kind of folds into like, but who were you then? You know what I mean? So like, if I'm being objective, it probably has to be New York. But I was such a young comic that was so excited to get those stage times. And I was probably the most easily tricked comedian in New York City.
Oh, yeah?
You know what I mean? Like if someone was like, yo, man, this is the bar that Cosby used to work at. He used to sleep on a mattress in the back. Like, again, this is how old I am in comedy. This is before a lot of those allegations resurfaced or whatever, right? So this is before the Hannibal stuff. So like, I was just like, whoa, this comedy hero used to. What? Oh my God! Of course I will bark for 2 hours in order to do 6 minutes to no one at this place. Like, then I too am a part of the history of New York.
Yeah.
Like, insane, just an insane thing that convinced me at any point. Yeah,
yeah, and yeah, that is. I mean, that's also what you were saying earlier about like in Europe. It's like I feel like I was this way and maybe still am of like you're like. Comics who are like fresh into it, but they're old for their scene, so they have some feeling of like
sure.
And it's funny to me now. I'm like 6 years in, and I think about where I was at 3 years in, and my confidence is so much lower now. Like I am a better comedian, but like I understand now
you
how
understand
much
what's
further
possible.
I have to go.
Yeah. And that's a good thing. You know what I mean? Because it also means you're going to be more open to hearing what other people can teach you. You know what I mean? Whereas when you're a young comic, you're like, I'm sorry, you've been going 12 years and you are at the same show as me? That's because you suck. And I don't suck, so I'm going to ignore you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then, a few more years, you're like, oh, please tell me everything you know.
Yeah.
Like,
anything.
Yeah,
anything.
I want to make sure I'm still at the show when I'm 12 years in. And yeah, even like basic things, like you learn about touring, you learn about, how do you not just make money on tour, but how do you save money on tour? And some of this you learn by yourself, but sometimes you just start trading tips with other comedians. Did I have a bad show because that venue sucks? Ooh, there is nothing better than finding out every comic being like, no, that place just sucked. You never had a chance.
Yeah.
There was a place in Bratislava called Goblins.
Okay. Yes.
And it was a dungeon in a castle or something weird.
Okay.
And I remember there was a show where the host could not get this heckler to stop talking. And it was a raised stage, right? So the crowd was below. And so he kicked the heckler in the face.
Oh, shit.
And it was one of those things where I was like, what the hell just happened? And then someone else was like, no, it's okay. They know each other. I'm like, I don't think that's how that works at all. Like, and then, you would talk to other comics and they'd just be like, oh, yeah, that's just Goblins, man. Yeah, that show, there's never been a normal show there ever. Pretty much every time I went to Bratislava, I would have just the craziest, weirdest shows. I did a venue there once where they sold all the tickets on our behalf. And so we were so excited, we didn't bother to realize that they had never told those ticket buyers that there would be a comedy show.
Oh.
So what they had actually done is reserved the room for 2 birthday parties. And they were turning away our potential audience at the door.
Because they had sold tickets to these
Yeah.
birthday parties.
It's like, it's sold out. Sorry, there's no space for you downstairs.
Yeah.
No, we're here for the comedy show. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. Better luck next time.
Yeah.
Better hope it's one of your birthdays. You know. And I remember it was the weirdest situation where both parties were deeply unhelpful but chill about it. Right? Where they just kept being like, don't even worry, man. Don't even worry.
You mean this is the birthday parties or the venue?
the birthday parties? They were like, don't even worry. Just do your little show. We won't even mind. We won't even get involved.
We're going to tune it out.
Yeah, we're gonna. They would say like, we're not even gonna listen. Don't even worry about it. Like, no, we need you to listen. You're supposed to be our audience. They were like, we're not gonna do that. So
Yeah.
we were like, all right, great. And I remember the comic before me, really funny comic, Eric from Prague, Eric Beckett, and he was pissed. He was so angry at the situation. He had traveled all the way to Bratislava for the show that he just starts insulting the three biggest, blondest, most Aryan-looking guys in the front and just going after them. And they are clear, like, you can see their veins. They are pissed. And I'm just in the back, and I'm doing that thing where, like, I am just slowly trying to get the mic out of, or the mic stand. Like, you know what I mean? When you unscrew the mic stand so I can use it as a stick, because they are about to charge the fucking stage. And I remember he said something, and they finally all stood up. These three fucking Hulk Hogan looking motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And they just come up and they're like, hey, we are going to complain. And I just started dying. I was like, I felt so, it was so funny because I felt so relieved. You know what I mean? I was like, complain, bitch, complain all you want. Yeah. We what are they going to do? Never let us perform here again? We never going to perform here again. I don't want to. Like, and I had to like slowly, I got to start screwing the mic stand back in. I was like, we're fine. We safe. Yeah.
Complain, please.
Yeah,
Be
please.
my guest.
If that's all you want to do, that is fine.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I've often thought about doing like a video series of just like all of my crazy shows, and
because that's part of the idea of the podcast for me. Was I was like, I mean, generally in comedy, you on the path, you're gonna do a bunch of crazy shows, but it also feels to me, maybe specific to Europe, maybe not, but like the thing of like walking into a venue, having no idea if it's gonna be usable at all for comedy, and what kind of situation you're gonna walk into felt kind of unique. And so that's maybe another thing is like, what about like, have you had like a particularly memorable, like weird or bad venue you had to perform at?
Oh, so many. I mean, and what's so interesting is I'm one of the rare European comics who has moved to Europe who still had some of these experiences back in America. Mm-hmm. Because my first year in comedy was in San Diego. And San Diego's in this really weird place as a scene where if you're any good, you're going to move to LA.
Yeah.
It's an hour and a half north. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing taking so long?
Yeah.
Whereas it was my first year, so I was never going to be in a position to do that. And I would use all of these like crazy old rock venues that had been converted. You would go to East San Diego and perform in these biker bars that had no idea there was going to be a show. So it was like an ambush show.
Yeah.
But then what was so weird is they were like these biker bars, they would heckle you. But if you gave it back to them, they were just like, nah, he's cool, whatever, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're like, all right, good for him. Like,
well, that's a scary thing about comedy is I feel like oftentimes when someone is heckling or giving you shit, what is needed is to give it back to them, and then they're like, that guy's funny. But what you don't know is the 100th time you do that, and then it's a person who's like, I'm not just gonna complain.
Yeah. I'm gonna storm the stage and drink your backwash.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, well. And yeah, it is that thing too of afterwards, especially when you're with a lot of either younger comics or younger producers or even just bartenders who run the room, and they will give you what they think that you should have done. or what they liked. And what they don't understand is that you're basing this off of the thousands of shows you've done, whereas they've won 3 in their life, you know? And so it's always weird when you're like, this is what I would have done. I'm like, well, you know, I reckon you should do that then next time. Because I've had to learn that. 'Cause normally I would be like, no, but here's why. And what you learn, nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants
to hear the thinking behind the move.
Very few comedians are interested in your experience if your credits are not flashy enough for them to understand why you might give them something someday. And that is a tough lesson to learn as you get older, because you're like, no, but I learned and I'll help you. And they're like, fuck you. I'm trying to make sure I don't become you. And you're like, oh, okay. Well, damn. All right. Damn, okay.
Damn, that hurts.
Yeah.
Well, is there like a piece of advice that you keep trying to give younger comics who are maybe accepting it or not accepting it? That's like a recurring theme.
I think just the basic one is like, hey, like let's work on some jokes. You know what I mean? Let's meet up. Let's work on some jokes. I will gladly help you with your jokes, you know? And I just had to learn to be like, all right, I guess I'm charging for it. Because, you know, if it's just 1 or 2 people taking me up for it every year, then I'm like, that is not worth my effort or my time to, like, I moved to Barcelona and I ran a feedback mic where I was like, listen, I'm running the Saturday show and I don't feel like there's always enough good comics to book on it. I would love to do whatever I can to help any young comic who seems hungry for stage time come to this show. I will use the like techniques I've used writing for other comedians, writing for myself, writing for TV shows, and just try to fix some of these jokes. And I could not get enough people to sign up. It was fucking crazy. It was a free mic. It was a Wednesday night. Afterwards, we were all going to go eat this dope burrito place I found. I did get to still do that, so that part was
that part worked out.
But just like, because what you end up seeing in so many of these younger scenes is they have a lot of confidence, but they're not as interested in joke writing. You know, the craft of writing a joke, and they're doing this in a time when, to be fair to them, it's never mattered less. You know, if you can do an hour based on charisma, a lot of people are happy to hang out with you for an hour, even if they don't laugh as much. And what it used to be is you'd be like, well, yeah, but they're going to get bored of that eventually. And now I'm like, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe now I have enough friends who are famous on Instagram and stuff with like 200-300K followers where you're like, oh, I guess all of these lessons maybe don't matter at all. Like the biggest lesson I would say I had to learn was how many of my lessons might be outdated to begin with. You know? Which is a tough thing to really sink in, because you're like, oh, so then it was worth nothing.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's the friendships along the way.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, I think some similar, maybe one way in which we're similar is like, I would very much like describe myself as a comedy nerd. So it's like, even though I started comedy later in life, it's like I've been immersed in like listening to comedy podcasts and reading the biographies and watching the doc, you know, all this shit. I was just obsessed with it, right? And then, but a lot of the stuff that is the like go-to advice, or you listen to like Ralphie May's, you know, talk that he gave to the younger comics at the Comedy Store, however many years ago that was. It's like. And it's like a lot of that stuff is completely irrelevant now.
I mean, also Ralphie May was such an interesting. He was still around when I started.
Really?
And he was this like really weird combination of sweetest, most helpful, most honest advice you can give. And then there'd be moments when you'd watch him on stage and you'd be like, and did he ever use any of that advice himself? Like, I don't think this is my kind of. Because that advice helped me write some of the best jokes I've ever written. But I don't know if he uses it then, because I don't think this. And then you just learn, oh, that comedy's just not for you. Other people love it, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
But in the moment, I was like, but I know he's a good guy. I've heard his advice, but oh no, that's terrible.
So one of the hardest lessons was like maybe some of the stuff you learned was outdated. Did you ever get a piece of advice from another comic that really helped change either like the way that you approach joke writing or a certain situation in a show?
I think part of that was also like going to Edinburgh for the first couple of times, and you learn like when you do an hour, it is tough for an audience to listen to only one person speak, even if they're having a great time, which is why there is the lull at 45 minutes. And what is so interesting to me is how different cultures try to address that, right? And it really reveals how weird America is compared to the world, right? In Edinburgh, the advice is, in that 45-minute mark, open up to them, be vulnerable, be sad in a way that changes the energy in the room and doesn't allow them the opportunity to get tired, right? In I would say in Europe, it's like, well, show what you can do outside of comedy. You know what I mean? It's more of a vaudeville thing in terms of how it was started, right?
Yeah.
And America's like, man, they tired of your jokes after 45 minutes? What if you did 15 minutes of even better jokes? And it's like, wait, what? No, I don't think that's... And it works. I mean, it can work, but you're like, oh, that's... that is... Like, now knowing what I know now, I would never have invented the American way of doing things. I would never know to be like, oh, they're tired of jokes? What if I told them more jokes, though? Like,
well, it is like a kind of a profoundly insightful... like commentary on our culture, which is like,
but what if I told you this
you're
3
tired?
years ago?
Well, yeah. I would have said no problem. I do have 15 minutes of better jokes.
Sorry, but you were sorry. I apologize. I was interrupting you. You were saying insightful about our American culture.
Well, it is. It's just it is very American to be like, oh, you guys are tired. Well, what if I put the foot on the gas all the way to the ground and I take you home?
America's like, you tired of war? Here's some Mountain Dew and some missiles. You know what I mean? Like,
well, okay, this is actually, I wasn't planning to ask this, but it's something I've been mulling over, and so I would be interested to get your advice, is like, so I did a tour this year, at the beginning of this year, and typically my setup when I go out is like, I can't afford to pay openers. Like, I'm just not in that position. Yeah. And I would say this is maybe not my strongest suit, but it's like, I've become a little bit of a control freak where it's like, I also don't want to just like give a guy a shot when I'm like, it feels like the night depends a little bit on like how we set the table here and how we like,
especially because a lot of these younger comics don't know what it means to be given a shot, and that's not even any shade to them. I know I wasn't always good at that either. Like, I remember when I was a young comic in New York City, I won some contest at like Greenwich Village Comedy Club, right? Not a lower medium tier of club in New York, right? And they were like, okay, kid, that was good. We're going to give you 5 minutes to do the check spot in, our weekend proper shows. And that first show apparently did so well that people could hear the laughs from outside the club. And that second night, I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm going to do some new jokes to let them know I'm not just those jokes. Yeah. So that they really invest in me. And I bombed my ass off so hard. And because I bombed without even doing the jokes that I knew worked, you could tell the club owner was like, what was that?
Why would you do that?
He was like, oh, you're not ready. Oh, okay. And, New York, when you're considered not ready by a club, their advice is devastating, right? Because they're like, okay, well, come back in 6 months to a year, and then we'll see if you're ready again. You're like, wait, but then what am I going to do? Yeah. This is not considered a good club. I was here so I could. This is the place where I was supposed to learn how to. And I think now in Europe, you get a lot of the same things where no one has told them that when a touring comic is giving you a shot, your job is to make sure that they book you again, right? That you have helped the show and everyone is excited that you got the stage time.
I remember when I first did my first tour in 2023 when I had more of this 3-year bravado. Right. And I remember talking to Victor and he was asking for his advice, which in and of itself was insane. I was like asking people for advice where I was like, I was making those calls way too early, like, and they were gracious. A lot of people were gracious to me, Victor and Sheeta, like a lot of people, yourself, But I remember Victor said this thing. He was like, "Yeah, I mean, like it's really you got to figure out how to follow your own crowd work."
Yeah.
And I was like, "What are you talking about? Like, my material is my material is wasted." And now I kind of get what he means, which is just like you're being in the room, you're being funny, and then there's I feel like that's the first half, and then the second half is like, now I'm going to tell you guys stuff, and it does energetically feel like, oh, we're more down in second gear.
And some of that also is on not just what you're saying, but how you're saying it. I think you said something very helpful there for younger comics, which is that often when you are doing crowd work, because you are inventing stuff on the spot, your energy is higher because you're bullshitting.
Yeah.
And in the second half, when you're trying to remember what you've written to nail the timing, your energy might be a lot lower. And so sometimes it is as simple as trying to learn how to match the delivery of your set to your crowd work so that it doesn't feel like a dip.
Yeah.
Whereas often it doesn't even matter what you're saying. The way you're saying it is so much lower energy that you allow the audience to sort of sit back, and that can really hurt your momentum.
Yeah. Do you like also pull bits? Like I have this like middle section in my hour where I'm like, I know some of these are like not quite that strong. And on the good nights, they're good.
Yeah.
But on the bad nights, I'm like, all right, we're cutting that, you know, like.
So I'm in this really weird position where, generally speaking, I am spending the majority of the year writing for the Edinburgh Fringe.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the most industry will have a chance to look at me. So I'm really trying to adhere to their rules. So
Can you expand on that? What do you mean by
No,
like you
not
mean
what are you gonna do?
unspoken?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. But like you're talking about unwritten rules, or are you talking about actual like rules?
So a mix
both.
and match, right? Like the written rule would just be like, it's got to be an hour, but it's also got to be out in an hour. You know what I mean? People are trying to watch multiple shows in a day, so if you start at 7, do not go to 8:05. They need to leave by 8 o'clock. So maybe if your show could end at 7:58,
Yeah.
you know, a tight 55 is so much better for your career in Edinburgh, or even a tight, 52, 53, because it gives other people more options of how to get to the next show. The unwritten part is that like they don't want to see crowd work at the Fringe.
Yeah, of course.
Even though those things are blowing up now and the industry is learning that they should start to give more respect to crowd work, when they're watching your debut hour, they don't want to watch crowd work.
Yeah.
And when you're watching your hour of any kind, they don't want to see crowd work unless it is specifically an only crowd work show, which I find weird based on how much the industry has now moved towards celebrating clowning.
Yeah.
Clowning, or as we just call it, rich kids improv.
Okay, so but to go back quickly, you were talking about your career path is basically you're writing shows for the Fringe every year. And I mean, you've had a lot of success at the Fringe, right? You've won a few awards, and I know you've won awards, but I don't know which ones.
Yeah.
But then at a certain point, you just want to be.
Which, based on the awards I have won, is actually helpful. Anyway,
okay. But so you've like won some awards. You've had some success. But I also imagine the Fringe seems like a place generally where it's like it's a place where your expectations could start to get high,
Right.
which is also a place where disappointment lives.
Absolutely.
So, have you had some, disappointments through that process?
Well, like to my point earlier, like, I have won a bunch of awards, but what you learn is that the industry doesn't care about any of the awards I have won.
Okay.
Those are not the awards they are interested in.
They're like, not those awards.
Yeah. Oh, no. You got nominated for best show, but not by my friends.
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool. And it's one of those things where what you find is that, let me rephrase. The first time I went to the Fringe, I got very, very lucky because I met 4 comics who were absolutely not industry people. They were like all, I think, 20-plus year vets, and none of them gave a fuck about the industry. And so that probably has in hindsight, hurt my ability to get noticed by the industry, but it has always taught me how to level set your expectations and how to make money at the Fringe every year. You know what I mean? Which I think, especially for a young comic, especially, the bill of goods you are sold in order for why you should do the Fringe is often an easy pathway towards losing a ton of money.
Yeah, like paying for a venue, paying for a PR team, doing all this. Yeah.
And what you find is like you can pay for PR and still make 10 grand at the Fringe. You know what I mean? And that's it requires a lot of hustle. Sometimes it requires you to have prior relationships that you've built up over other years of doing the Fringe. But these are things the industry doesn't tell you because the comics that make that amount of money are not people the industry is often interested in the first place. So it is not a path that they are trying to promote. But, I remember there was this comic, Dan Willis, and he would do 4 to 5 free shows a day with donations. And I've just never seen anyone make the kind of money, even to this day, that he would make per show. Because, he would, and Dan hopefully doesn't mind me saying this, but some of those shows were absolutely nothing. You know what I mean? Like, he'd call it like, man, The Walking Dead, relive The Walking Dead, and he would have a PowerPoint, and there'd be like maybe 4 slides about The Walking Dead. And otherwise, he would just do crowd work before it was really recognized as this new big art form. And he would crush.
Yeah.
And they would just pour money into his bucket. They were so happy to have been there that, like, I just remember, this is like probably in like 2014. You know what I mean? Like Obama is still president.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a long time ago.
The good years.
And people are just like, they are so excited to be in the room with a guy who connected 100 people in that way. That he was probably averaging over 10 a person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's no overhead. And he's doing 4 of them a day. Like he would pay every act he would do like 1 or 2 compilation shows in addition to that. And, he would leave for like 20, 30 grand, I want to say. Like, it just,
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what, so I went to the Fringe once. I think I came close to breaking even, which was good. But I haven't gone back because I felt like when I go back, I need to be more intentional about what I want to get out of this experience. Yeah. Because essentially, I had been touring that show, and so I don't feel like I found anything in the show. Yes. And I was so worried about people coming and about flyering and stuff. I wasn't spending any time working on the show itself while I was there. I was like doing spots because I felt like I needed to, and then flyering and worrying about people coming to the show. So, what advice do you give if somebody is thinking about like, oh, I want to, if I want to do the Fringe, what's the question they should ask themselves to like start with?
But the first question is exactly what you started with. It's like, what intentionally do I want to have happen at the end of the Fringe, right? I'm at a place now where I know the industry is not really looking for the kinds of comedy I can do. They might individually like my shows and keep coming every year, but they don't know what to do with me. So for me to do a show at a Big 4 venue and spend $6,000-$7,000 before the show has even started, it will not result in me breaking even or getting the opportunities that one could get for spending that amount of money. However, what I can do is, for the last 7 years, I've been raising money for an organization called the Center for Gender and Refugee Studies. It's a progressive, asylum-based legal aid foundation in San Francisco that's like won the Supreme Court and all that stuff. And over the last 7 years, I've raised a little over $100,000 for them, in part through the Fringe. Not just the Fringe. I've also hosted fundraisers that got us there. But like, and for me, I go to the Fringe every year to try to at least raise at least $5,000 for them every year. And knowing that, I know, okay, I need to book flyers. I can't just be the only one flying for my show. Like, I think a lot of young comics make that mistake to save money. And I'm like, you are going to learn so much more, so much faster if you flyer every day for your own show, but also hire 2 other people to do it.
Mm.
Really try to flood the zone with your flyers so that you can get 20, 30, 40, 100 people a day, you know?
Yeah.
And on top of that, know what you're asking from the crowd afterwards, right? If you're doing a free show, be very intentional with the amount of money you're asking for. They probably don't want to give you 15.
Yeah.
But if you ask for 15, you're probably going to get a good chance of getting at least 10.
Yeah.
You know? If you ask for 10, you're probably going to get 5.
Mm-hmm.
If you say, just donate whatever you think is fair, they're probably going to give you a bunch of coins.
Yeah.
You know? Not even because they're like, that might be a person who would give you 15 to 20. But if you're not specific about it and they're trying to see like 10 shows that day, they're like, all right, well, this is a chance. Hey, that wasn't bad, man. Keep doing it. Here's a pound. And you're like, oh, boy.
Yeah.
Traditionally, the free fringe says that if you average a pound a person, you're doing a good job. I would say
you can aim higher than that.
It's not hard to average 5 a person at this point. You know, I am lucky that when my shows are full, I average a good deal more than that. But it is like it's more possible, but again, it comes down to like, what is it you're looking for? Like, I think you doing a lot of spots is probably very helpful from the standpoint of now you know a bunch of the people who run shows.
Mm-hmm.
And now, as someone who can tour, now you know other cities to go to. And, you know, we were talking about this earlier, like, so much of touring is not just about making money, but it's where can you save it. And the number one way to save money is like, hey, is there a comic in this city who has a spare room I can just crash in?
Yeah.
I remember in Vienna, it was even better. There was this comic named Roland.
Yeah.
Roland would just give you a spare apartment. You're like, oh my God.
I stayed in Roland's.
Yeah. So many of us have. And it's just like, you know, every time you're there, you're like, okay, I know that the last comic who stayed in here clearly tried to make pasta because that's still in the fucking cabinet.
Yeah.
You know? And these things really add up. And going to the Fringe is a very good way intentionally to be like, also, let me just go see the shows of these comics from other cities and just see what they're thinking about, seeing what they're vibing with, seeing if we can hang out after the show and learn from them and maybe, you know, offer whatever you can too. Like, especially because at the Fringe, the UK industry does not respect European comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's, you know, all non-UK comedy, basically. You have an opportunity to band together while no one is watching to make money for the rest of the 12 months.
One thing, you know, when I started this show, I was kind of like, okay, this is like about bad shows. And I think as I'm doing it is like, I've done it. I'm also expanding more into like not just talking to comedians and stuff, other performers. I'm like, I realize also part of it is the idea is actually it's like kind of trying to humanize the artists a little bit because I was like a consumer for many years because I started my career late, and so it's interesting for me to, you know, you referenced, you're like, how many of my friends are getting famous on the internet? It's like, it's interesting for me to meet more and more people who on the outside look successful,
right?
And then you get into their life and you're like, oh, this is so much more on the fringes than you know I thought. So, I guess I'm wondering, like, what is the financial reality of trying to do comedy full time look like for you?
Yeah,
is that and do you feel like that affects your creativity?
So, I am one of the most strangely well-rounded comedians of potentially all time. It goes back to what
also very small ego.
No, but I don't even mean it in an egotistic. I don't mean it in like a grand way, right? I don't mean it in like a complimentary way. I mean it in the most jack of all trades, potentially king of none way, right? In the sense that like there are a lot of really talented political comedians. Mm-hmm. A lot of them don't have to do cruise ships.
Yeah.
Which don't want to hear any of that material.
Yeah.
Right? I was once, you know, one of the 20 people every year who makes a full-time living doing improv. Right?
Yeah.
A lot of them are not also doing commercials on the side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas like recently this year, I've done more commercials, and that has really helped. You know, those people who are doing improv, they also don't have to like do 4 cities in Germany, you know, every 3 months to try to see if they can connect to that crowd. Like,
Yeah.
I have lived a life where I have done the full spectrum of different types of comedy, and it has really helped me in the way that I am very privileged to make a full-time living doing stand-up comedy. But I also feel constantly unsure of what I should be prioritizing, because unlike a lot of other comedians who are full-time comedians, there is not one source of income that is so overwhelming I should focus on that. Right? This past 12 months, I have written for the BBC. I have done cruise ships. I have done these commercials with some friends. I have toured. I have taught classes. And all of that has added up to a living, but none of it has added up to a place where I should be like, I should focus on that above
Right.
all else. That's what
Yeah.
I mean by well-rounded. I always feel so guilty when you say it, because I'm like, I know when I say it, it sounds like I'm like, yeah, I'm the best at everything, you know? That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm actually trying to say very much the opposite, where like I don't sell tickets like a Dragos or a Victor, right? I don't get asked to write for television as often as, say, my friend Christina Rose, who is so in demand, right? I don't even do cruise ships as often as some of my friends who, you know, when you get on that cruise ship for a good chunk of time, if you did 4 months in a row on a cruise ship, you're paying for the next 8 months easily, you know?
Yeah.
Nor am I getting commercials as often as my friend Allie, for example. You know what I mean? So everything I'm doing, I have proven I am good enough to do it, but I might not be good enough to do it by itself.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So your piece, but I mean, this proves my point, which is like you are piecemealing it together through these different things, which
Yeah.
is like the more artists I meet, the more I'm like, oh, we're all piecemealing it together.
Yeah.
I mean, now he moved, but like even Dragos is like, I think you could probably inarguably say he's like the most successful comedian in Europe. And I went to his apartment before he moved, and I was like, you live here? This is, and he's like, no, but it's a good price. And I'm like, yeah, but like,
Yeah.
you know, I opened a small theater for you in San Francisco. I think you could do a better.
No, but this is such a real, like, this is an excellent point you made, and it's why this year I've been spending more time in Barcelona, for example. Is because I looked at my life in London, and I was like, I'm cobbling it together well enough that it is truly demoralizing to live like this at 37, right? How can I find a way to do a life like this and still get to enjoy a life that I've fought so hard to have it exist, you know?
Yeah.
And Barcelona is so much cheaper than London. That was, I mean, Berlin was absolutely a place I was considering as well, but you know, especially when you're living in London or LA and New York, you know, you do get more opportunities, but
Yeah.
they sure get eaten up really fast too. The
Yeah.
paycheck, yeah.
Well, and I also imagine Barcelona, it's like you can pop back and forth very easily, which
Yes,
makes
it's an hour
it,
flight. I can get to any, yeah.
And so, I mean, I guess that's part of why I've been starting to ask this question is like you said, it's like, I'm 37, you know, is this kind of, can I live like this? Whatever. Is like, I think I have my own, I have my own, I started late. I started way too late, realistically. Like, you know, it's an improbable career already, and I'm trying to do it in Germany. Like what am I thinking? You know, but there's a lot of things, and I do have this I have this thing where I fantasize about, you know, what would my life be like if I quit? You
Yeah,
know?
sure.
Which positive is, I think, you know, I used to have like, I used to have like, suicidal fantasies. Now I just fantasize about quitting comedy. So
Yeah.
that feels like a step up,
The moment where you choose that you want to kill your career instead of yourself.
Yes.
It's a good thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
It also means, I think, that you're paying attention, not in the sense that you should quit. You shouldn't. But I'm saying that, like, I think every comedian who is self-aware about the anxiety your career can cause should have occasional moments of being like, God, there has to be an easier way.
Mm-hmm.
And often it's that pressure that helps you try to create a way that is a little bit easier. But, like, I'll say this for you to be honest about how I look at you from the outside, right? Is, yeah, you're American. You grew up in an unusual way, so you have some stuff to talk about. You also started later, which means you have more of a life that you can talk about that the crowd will relate to, right? You have a long-term partner that you love very deeply. You live together. You have a nice place. And as much as comedians often romanticize the place that Dragosh lived in, the place I lived in London, which was like so small, right? Despite that, the audience doesn't relate to that.
Yeah.
Especially if you're selling good tickets at a good price, they're able to pay that price because their life looks as far away from that as possible.
Yeah.
You are living a life where you can relate to them in a way that I think is special. The fact that you started later means you're actually even more close to a lot of them and their secret ambitions that they will never pursue than a lot of the rest of us are. I started at 21.
Yeah.
When I went on a date with this girl who was 45, and I was like, oh, I moved to Barcelona, and I finally, like, I should learn how to buy art for the place I live in. I've never bought art before. Why would I buy? I can't afford that. Right now I can, and I'm like, and the lady was just like, are you trying to say what you think I want to hear? Like, she was like, and I was like, no, I thought you might actually give me advice. Like, and because you're doing it in Berlin, you have the benefit of starting in many cities where this has never existed beyond the last 5 years. So you have the opportunity to become a lot of expats' favorite and first comedian. And that's a special thing. You shouldn't, and I think everything I'm saying it because you probably are going to have moments when you forget all of those things, because comedy is a brutal business. And there are going to be moments when you drove to Heidelberg and you sold very few tickets, and now you're driving back to a nice apartment being like, was this even worth it? When I could have just stayed here the entire time. But don't forget, you also have those advantages as well, and that should hopefully make you feel better about it.
All right, so to wrap up, I guess, any other memorably horrendous shows to end on? I'm thinking, maybe like a really, like the first time you really badly bombed when you got asked to headline, or an awful opening for a comedian, maybe a terrible venue or something.
How about this? I did a show the first time I got to do like a fancy club in the UK that was outside of London. It was after my first Fringe run. I got asked to do the Birmingham Glee. Was it Birmingham Glee? I think so. And it was a Indian group or an Asian group that hired me, and all I had to do was 15. So I'm like, oh, I just got to do the hits.
Yeah.
And I walk on stage and try to riff off of what the host had just said, which was crazy. The show started so late, and the host was so charismatic, and the audience immediately hated me. Like, this doesn't even make sense without the full context of having watched the host, but the host was so charismatic. He basically ended his set where he was supposed to do 10 and did 35 or 45, something insane.
That is insane. He was supposed to do 10 and then he was just killing so hard. He's like, I'll do 40.
He's
as the host.
You don't even know, like, this was between comics. You know what I mean?
Oh, this was between comics.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, and he's notorious for it, and I don't want to call him out because he is such a lovely person, and he is better at that now. Because clubs were like, we can't book.
Yeah.
We can't book other good comics who wants to see you on the lineup, but they don't want to do it. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But he basically got the entire crowd on his side, and then he turned to a woman in the first or second row, and he was like, love, how many drinks would we have to get you to crowd surf topless? right? Which is an insane story.
Yeah.
The kind of story where like someone should be like, "Hey, fuck you."
Yeah.
But instead she's like, 2. And he has no idea how to respond to that either. And he goes, "Oh, that's crazy." Well, anyway, coming all the way for his first time, and he just brought me up straight up from that. And so I'm like, "Oh, I have to address this." And I was like, "Hey, girl, you should believe in yourself." That's all I said. I said some shit like that. And she crossed her arms and was like, "How dare you?"
Yeah.
And the whole crowd's like, "Oh, I guess we got to take her side." I'm like, "Wait, what just happened?"
Yeah.
And then I proceed to start telling jokes, and I just start bombing. I started bombing hard. And finally, like, this one dude, he was in a group of 9 dudes in the back, start heckling me. But even worse, they're heckling me in a Birmingham accent, which the Birmingham British accent is Brummie, I guess is what they call it, is a tough accent to understand.
Yeah.
So not only are they heckling me, but instead of like saying something smart back, I'm just like, "Huh? Can you say that again?" And they're just saying stuff like, "This sucks. You suck." And I'm just like, "Huh?
Yeah.
One more time."
What was that?
What was that?
We said to kill yourself.
He's like, "Kill my where?" Like, oh boy. And finally, the few audience members who had really liked me, because the craziest thing is, like, this was a 400-seater. 20 or 30 of them had seen me at the Fringe and brought people to the show. I'm not in the headline. I'm in the middle. But like, they were excited to see me, and now these 9 hecklers are saying I suck, and the vast majority of the crowd agrees with them.
Yeah.
But there are enough people on my side that they started heckling the hecklers. So, you know,
So full chaos in the audience.
10 minutes into my 15-minute set, and my audience is just arguing with each other.
Yeah.
And I'm just sort of on stage being like, okay. Like, as this is happening, this giant of a man, like 300-400 pounds easy, is so uncomfortable by this. He makes a joke, and then he just starts singing. And his singing does stop the arguing. And I'm just like, is this the UK? Like,
Yeah.
is this what gigs outside of Edinburgh are? And he's singing. I'm just like, bro, what are you even singing about? And he's like, "Oh, I'm just singing about how I lost my heart." And finally I snap. Finally I'm like, "You know what? Fuck this crowd." And I go, "Oh, what? You lost it from a bypass surgery?" And the entire crowd that had been arguing over whether they even needed to hear my jokes all unite to just be like, "Ooh." Ooh,
Well,
I don't know about
wasn't-
that. That was we might be able to say you suck, but you saying this man who's singing during the middle of your set, saying something mean to him, that's uncalled for.
That's not cool, man.
That's not cool, man.
He wasn't mean like this at the Fringe.
Yeah. And I'm like, all right, I would tell one last joke. And I told a joke that got, almost nothing. And I just go, "Well, you've been a crowd." And then I took the microphone and I dropped the mic and I walked off stage and I got booed off stage.
Oh.
And then the venue tech, it gets so much crazier. The venue tech comes up to me and is like, "Hey, man, you gonna drop the mic like that? That's bad for the mic. You drop the mic like that, you ain't never gonna get booked at this venue ever again." I was like, "Bitch, did you see my set? I am never getting booked at this venue again." In fact, this is a story from the first time I did the Fringe. So that means it is a story from 2012. I did not get booked at that venue again until 2024.
Wow. They were like,
Yeah.
"You're going to need to give it some time, not 6 months to a year. We're thinking 10 to 12 years.
I mean, and to be fair, it's not like I was trying to get booked at that venue again,
Yeah.
It wasn't a venue I was like dying to. I mean, I avoided the whole city of Birmingham for the most part. I felt so
I would
smart.
too after that.
Oh, it was crazy. And an even crazier, I can say all this now, is they'd put me up in a hotel, and the guy running the show producer who lives in that city, gave himself a hotel room. And I was like, "Why? You live in the city."
Yeah.
It was so he could cheat on his girlfriend in the room next to me. So I don't just bomb. I then have to hear that. And then in the morning, he knocks on my door and he drives me to his house where he makes his girlfriend make me breakfast. And
Oh.
then once I'm like, I'm not hungry. I really do not want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Once that finishes, we then drive.
Tell her what a good time we had last night, Sid.
Yeah, just hanging out,
Yeah.
am I right? And then they just drive all of us in a van for 6 or 7 hours to Glasgow to then do the exact same thing all over again, except that he had booked my flights wrong. So after my show in Glasgow, I didn't even get to finish the show. He had to then drive me to the bus stop, and I had to take a bus from Glasgow to London in order to fly back to New York where I lived.
Oof.
And don't worry, I also bombed on the Glasgow show, but not as hard as in the Birmingham show, so it actually felt like a breath of fresh air.
So you're sitting in a hotel in Birmingham listening to a guy cheat on his girlfriend, just like the tech at the venue yelled at you. Did you have a moment of like, is this what I'm supposed to do? Is this life?
I definitely was in a daze. Like, I definitely was like in shock because I had never bombed at that level before. And I had just killed for a month at the Fringe in a tough environment. And so I probably had all of this, in hindsight, unearned confidence that had just punctured in one day. And yet, there was also part of me that's like, man, I'm doing it, man.
Yeah.
I'm on the road, man. This is what Marin and Louie and, not Cosby had just got canceled. I learned not to use Cosby anymore. But yeah, I remember on that bus, like, I should have been like, what am I doing? But instead I was like, rock and roll, baby.
Yeah. You're like, I'm living the dream.
I really felt that.
Well, dude, thank you so much.
Thank you
This
for
was
having me.
awesome. Tell the people where they can find you. SidSing.com?
I think I have sidsing.org.
.org.
You can just Google Sid Singh. It'll probably be faster. On Instagram, I am Sid Singh is funny, and I recommend you using that to find me in various platforms.
The links to all of that will be in the description below as well. And you can also, I assume, find your tour dates.
When does this come out?
This, I will try to get this out in like a couple of weeks. So probably halfway through your Fringe run.
Sure.
So if you're in Edinburgh, go see Sid at the Fringe. I can put the link as well for that.
4:15 every day at the Counting House, and you cannot reserve tickets. So you just have to show up.
Okay, so never mind. There won't be a link, but 4:15 at the Counting House. Check it out. Follow Sid. Request a show in your city. Go see Sid live.
Or don't. Watch my hour on YouTube or watch a different hour on Spotify. You have options.
Yeah, all the options. Listen on Spotify. Watch on YouTube. But see him live.
See me live.
Yeah. Thanks, dude. This is awesome.
Thank you for having me.
The show must go on. Even if the show goes wrong. The show must go wrong.